The versatile and prolific Joel Dale. And you can check out everything about
Sounds like a girly.
No, these are my expensive ones. The ones you make fun of are my dollar store ones. And I know. I'm getting compliments on these. These are, I don't know. Anyway. So go to JoelDale.com for everything Joel Dale. He's been a long-time performer and writer in Seattle. He's having movie reviews. Did you know that?
I did know that. You can find him on his website, I think, right?
I think you're right.
JoelDale.com.
Right. And Joel Dale in the flesh is here now. So please welcome Joel Dale.
I was seeing everyone fanning themselves earlier tonight, and I just felt like I was on like a showboat, one of those big paddle boats. I'm not used to using a knife and big monkey to try this. Let's see how this goes. Do I do this right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello. I don't. Hello. I don't know how to do it.
Help is on the way.
Thank you. Everyone see me? Yeah. Okay. I write essays about my life, and for some reason they want me to keep coming back. This essay is entitled Passive Fist. My first fight lasted exactly one blow. It officially began and ended when a 7-year-old boy threw a rock into my face. I was also around 7 years old, hanging out with a new friend. We sat atop a jungle gym and picked on a kid down below. He hadn't done anything to deserve our taunting. My actions were uncalled for. I just wanted to fit in, and being cruel was how we were bonding. The kid seemed to take umbrage at our taunting, screaming stuff like, "Stop it." Eventually punctuating his seriousness by picking up a rock and hitting me directly in the face. Everyone back at the house was mortified to see my head swelling up, including my compatriot's big sister from college who took a liking to me. I don't remember much about her, except that she wore a baseball cap, blue jeans, sweatshirt, and had a deep voice. Only years later did I realize this means she has sex with women. She went out looking for the kid to teach him a lesson in civility. The last thing a 7-year-old wants is a 24-year-old militant lesbian hunting him down. I learned at that young age what the outcome of ridicule can be. Taunting as a form of violence is a reflection of one's own insecurities. Not all kids know this. In 5th grade, my friend Rick was annoying me and others on the playground. I was playing Foursquare or something equally awesome, and Rick was blocking the ball, yelling taunts, preventing us from playing. I would interpret his actions as feeling left out, wanting a friend, searching for attention. If I had known then what I know now, I would have been understanding and talked it out with him. But I didn't, so I put him in a headlock. He said something like, "Let me go." I wasn't trying to fight. I had learned my lesson. I just wanted his attention. I promised to release him if he calmed down and stopped screwing around. He promised. So I let him go. Then he punched me in the face. I stared in disbelief. I didn't even start this, and I still got hit in the face. This made no sense. So for my third fight, I tossed sense right out the window. I was watching the 1984 Olympics at my friend Scott's house. He was a very active guy and loved athletic things like wrestling. He was bored, I guess, because he kept leaping on me to wrestle. I would throw him off with a playful punch and go back to watching the Olympics while his father sat there the whole time evaluating his son's performance. We were in a cycle. Scott would jump on me and I would playfully punch him and push him off. Every time I tossed Scott off me, his father would provide motivation for his son with catchy phrases like, "Don't be such a pussy." It worked. Scott kept at it. My annoyance grew stronger. Scott's father kept calling him a pussy, and I kept punching him and shoving him off, until at some point I forgot to shove him off and just kept punching. I had lost my cool and was trying to inflict pain on my friend, not maim him, but make him stop jumping on me. Doing it in front of his father was ill-advised. He kicked me out of the house. I thought I had hit bottom, but there was one more blow coming. As I skulked out the door, Scott asked his father, "Why are you kicking him out?" Scott didn't know I was beating him up. Possibly the most embarrassing moment of my life. I started to notice a pattern. Violence had not solved my problems, it made them worse. Yet I wasn't fully convinced. I had an opportunity to use violence in a new way to solve other people's problems, and I decided to take it. Across the way from Scott lived the Carpers. My friend Aaron, older brother Chad, and the parents. Mrs. Carper watched soap operas all day. Mr. Carper ran a construction company. Aaron was an idiot, and Chad belonged in prison. They once offered me candy from a jar in the kitchen. I looked at the brightly colored disc handed to me and saw the word Tums. Chad was a grade A jerk, the kind that calls 911, yells help, and then hangs up. My friends would have mini wars where we'd throw pine cones at each other. Chad would throw rocks. He once tied a plank with a nail to the end of a rope and swung it at all of us. And he had been kicked off a local cul-de-sac for playing doctor with the children. Chad was such a dickhead that the other kids of the neighborhood would have secret conversations about how to hurt him, including his brother. One boy in particular explained his plan was to make $1 million, buy a Porsche as an adult, run Chad over with the Porsche, and as Chad feebly reached up from the road, the trunk would open, spewing rotten eggs all over his broken body, and a large hand on a string would bound up from the trunk, flipping Chad off with a sign that says, "Fuck you." It was a brilliant plan. But we didn't have years to wait, so I loosened the screws on his skateboard instead. It was a well-known problem in the neighborhood that his screws were loose. And because of that, no one would suspect any foul play if, by chance, his wheels just happened to come off and he just happened to tumble down the road straight into the hospital. The world's worst neighbor would be gone, and none of it could be traced back to me. That was my actual thinking. I had become the neighborhood hitman. His brother Aaron ratted me out. When Chad learned of my treachery, he burst from his house with a clenched fist of indignance, as if to say he was nothing more than a cancer-curing patron saint of undernourished children, that I should be nicer to people, and that now I'm on the top of his list of people to hit with his rope stick nail invention. Then he rushed back inside, presumably to solve world hunger 1 Tums at a time. I was a good kid, but I wasn't acting like one. I wanted to give up on this fighting, but then in 8th grade, my parents moved me to a pleasure resort known as Detroit. Maybe you've heard of it. In Detroit, bowling is viewed as a sport, a regional logic that can't be explained, kind of like how badminton is really popular in China. 2 female friends of mine would be tormented every day at lunch by some thuggish asshole. Each day, he'd leer and make horrible comments, unrelenting and mean statements about them being female and smart. His tormenting was as vicious as it was stupid, and they were not able to handle the onslaught. So I had a conversation with him about the finer points of respecting people. That is to say, I used his neck to yank him directly onto the lunch table. My experience said this would not end well, but sometimes you don't want to be the only ones losing. Lunch was quiet after our conversation. The curse, it seems, had been broken. However, this asshole had a friend. Let's call him Asshole Friend. He decided I needed a talking to. Every day, at lunch and in class, insults, threats, and humiliation to make my life hell. This incessant torment motivated the most popular boy and girl in the school to get involved in my behalf. They walked up to me before lunch asking one question: who is he? Let me just say that career assholes like getting dressed down in public by the prom queen about as much as 7-year-olds like getting chased by angry lesbians. The next day, asshole friend explained that the prom couple were lucky because he knew members of some local gang with a name that sounded like a mashup of random words, lords, clan, and dragons. And with a simple call, he could have everyone wiped out. You call in a gangland hit because they asked you to stop picking on me? Yes, he said. From that moment on, he stopped bullying me, as if realizing he could have me murdered at any moment created the peace within himself that he had been searching for his first 15 years. Zen and the art of contract killing. I was not sure how to end the cycle. No matter how I tried or where I went, the specter of fighting followed me. But in high school, something miraculous happened. I joined the drama club. My humor and sudden higher profile from doing school plays made me popular enough to avoid further ridicule. Not the result I expected. In the greatest piece of reverse psychology ever, I avoided further bullying torment by doing the gayest thing possible. Well, second gayest, I didn't have the physique to be a cheerleader. I found my way out. I would recommend this plan to others, but unfortunately, not everyone is as talented enough to be called a future star by none other than Rod Serling's former high school drama teacher. To the rest of you, I offer the advice my uncle offered me. Never fight. But if you have to fight, go batshit crazy on them. And he's right. One day, years ago, 3 guys from school approached me with bad intent on their minds. Following his advice, I threw my hands in the air, dropped to the ground, and made a sound that can only be described as an elephant snorkeling. They immediately walked away. Possibly not what my uncle had in mind, but it's pretty damn effective. So I think I have the solution. It seems the way through violence is to either get more gay or get more cray.